Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 9, Opposite Color Bishop Endgame. Let's take a look in the game between Eingorn Verislav against Nadera Barlow. I hope you will enjoy the game. Let's take a look. In this position on the board, as we can see, we have a very complex endgame. So 4 pieces from the black side, but let's say light pieces, and also 4 light pieces of white. What we can see here, what's a good thing about this endgame is that white has 3 against the 2 black pawns on the king side. So white just needs to push this majority in the right time. But before white pushes this pawn, white played the move knight to d4. Also, it's a pretty good stuff to put a knight immediately on the square d4. That actually it's a blockade square to the pass d5 pawn. After the move knight d4, black played the move knight g8, and again, second knight of white knight is coming to b3 to support this knight on d4 even more. Black played the move knight e7, and now after the knight e7, white decided to go knight to e2, and from here, black played the move bishop to c7, now knight to bd4, and after the move bishop e5, I think that here we are entering the first critical moment in the game. You saw how the white first played knight b3, knight d4, and from knight d4, the white knight knight jumped to e2. So what's the main reason? Here, it's a pretty good thing for white to find a weakness in the black position, and that weakness is the f4 pawn of black. After let's say one of these knights or an e2, white needs to find a way how to put more pressure on the f4 pawn. So here, the key move is to play move bishop to e1, preparing the maneuver with bishop d2 to attack this f4 pawn twice. After the move knight g6, let's say, again, critical moment in this position, please stop the video and try to find the best move, how white is playing this position for the win. Thank you so much, I hope you find the right move. The best move for white is to make this trade, so bishop to g6. After the bishop to g6, here black must take it, and now we have this kind of very interesting endgame. White played bishop to d2, and as you can see here, the f4 pawn of black is going down. Nothing else to do for black except to trade, and now knight to e6. Now, black is trying to offer a trade of knights so he can enter the opposite color bishop endgame. Second important moment, please stop the video and let me know how will you play this endgame for a win. Thank you so much for for your time. Here, actually, the best move for white and the simplest way for white to play for a win is just to take knight to e6. So trade knight e6, and after bishop e6, bishop f4. Yes, one thing is for sure, like let's say most of the opposite color bishop endgames are draw, except this one is not. Why? The point is that white has a very nice structure of the pawns, f3, g4, h2, against only one pawn, that's this h6 pawn, and white can easily push these pawns forward. Black pushed d4, that's kind of like his only pass pawn in this position, but now white played bishop e5 to take away square f6 from the black king. After d3, obviously here white must play move bishop to c3 to get control over the d3 pawn of black. Bishop b3, and now the point why this endgame is winning for white is that white is now pushing the pawns forward. f4. Bishop to d1, f5, king to f7. Now, the only thing what white should do here is to activate his king. So with the king, let's go. White is pushing his king forward, helping to also helping these pawns to push them forward even easier. So king to g3, bishop to c2, king to h4. Let's say here, white is deciding also to play the plan, let's say to go with the plan of king h5 to get the h6 pawn. King to g8, king to back, this king f4. Also, the other plan was possible, but here, let's say that white didn't want to play king h5 because black plan was to go king h7. And now if white goes with h4, this bishop can go to d1, stopping the, let's say, this plan with the g5. So here, white decided not to put the king on h5, but to go to g3 back. King f7, king f4, bishop to d1, and now h4, bishop b3, g5. Finally, the white pawns are completely connected, and now these pawns are very easy to push forward. hg, hg, bishop d5, g6 check. Nothing else for king except to go. King e5, again, opposition, preparing f6 move, f6, king f8, and now very nice move, bishop to d2. Plan is very simple. White also wants to play bishop h6 and then to push a pawn forward. Black played the move bishop to d5, and now very interesting moment. Here, please stop the video and try to find the best way for white, how white should win this opposite color bishop endgame. Thank you so much for your time. The crucial move for white here is to play a move b5. Why this move is so lovely? Idea is pretty simple. Black can't take the pawn because the bishop is under attack. When this, after the move, let's say, whenever this bishop goes, let's say to f3, white plan is to play b6. And after the b6, white wants to go king d6, king c7, and king to b7. After what, this b pawn will become a queen in just next couple of moves. But let's go back. Here, after the move bishop to d5, I want to say one thing. Move like bishop h6 and king g8 is not winning. Well, at least it's winning, but a little bit more complicated. Here, after the f7, also bishop f7, gf, king f. Here, white now needs to go back to get a d pawn, but also this should be a winning position because white king is on time to defend both of these pawns. So we can say this is winning, just a little bit more complicated. I really like the way how after the bishop d5 here, that's my favorite idea here, is to play first the move b5 without any risk, just put the pawn on b6, and from there, we don't even need to push these pawns. We can just let them there to make a huge problem to the black king on f8. So after this couple of moves, the game is over. Okay, let's do a quick recap. I hope you enjoyed this example. So first, white played the move knight to d4, taking control over the center d4 square. After the knight g8, knight 2 to b3, very good. So white is supporting, let's say white knights are supporting each other. And after knight e7, what's very important, this type of the endgame, white found a new weakness in the black position, and that weakness is f4 pawn. So after knight e2, black played bishop to c7, but now second knight is getting to the d4 square, and after the bishop e5, white played the move bishop to e1. The main plan for white is to play bishop d2 and then to grab the f4 pawn. Nothing else for black except to play knight g6, and I will say one of the most important moves in the game is that for white to recognize that this endgame is easily winning for him, and that's we start with the move bishop to g6, or let's say white start with this move. After the king g6, bishop to d2, now the f4 pawn is a main target, nothing else for black to take, knight to e6, and again, let's say second critical moment for white is again to notice that this position is easily winning because these white pawns are such a easy to push forward. They just defend each other, and we just need to push them. I really like how white also played the move bishop e5, and after d3, white played bishop to c3 to control, and from here, the pawns are just going easily forward and black can't do anything. We just go forward with a couple of moments, and then after this couple of, let's say white here changed his mind and he went with the better square with the king, and after hg, bishop d5. Now, very nice move after bishop to d2 is to play a move b5. Also, bishop h6 is winning, maybe a little bit more complicated, but here b5 is just a lovely move with white idea to push b6, and from there to go with the king d6, king t7 to grab the b pawn. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed in this opposite color bishop endgame. So I would like to show you one more endgame after this, so where you will see that white, or let's say black, when you have a pawn advantage, this endgame shouldn't be a draw all the way. So there are some exceptions where you can play for a win. Here, when you have such a lovely connected pawns, as you can see here, it's a very easy to push them and eventually to win this type of endgames. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next part. Take care and see you soon. Bye. Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 8, Opposite Color Bishop Endgame. Today we'll take a look in the game between Svidler Peter and Bruzen Batista. I hope you will enjoy it. In this game, Svidler had a white pieces. As you can see here, we have the endgame, so queens are not on the board, but we have a lot of pieces all over the board. Two knights on f4 and f3, also the bishop is on g3. Also, we have this annoying knight on d4. Here, white started a plan of pushing the black pieces back. So before it's making any trades, white said, okay, I don't like this bishop here on g5, so here white played a move h4. Main idea here for white is to kick this bishop from the g5 square. As we can see here, now black took bishop to f4 and now bishop to f4. Very interesting position again. The problem is that black can't take this pawn very easily because white can trade the rooks and put the rook on c1, attacking the knight and the bishop from, let's say, this c file. That's a reason why black is not taking the c pawn. So here black put the bishop on e6. So bishop is going back, and now white is just continuing the plan of pushing the black pieces back. So here white played first the move c3. Yes, g4 pawn is hanging, but white is saying, okay, let me first kick the knight, and now after the move knight to f3, king to, let's say first he took rook to d8, and after the move rook d8, king f3, white at least is defending the g4 pawn. So now this is a very important, and I will say the critical moment in this endgame. Black is in the move, and black needs to find the right idea how to play for a draw this position, how to play to equalize this position. Obviously, black problems are like black has two c pawns, and here black has 4 against the 3, but these 3 pawns are pretty good because it's stopping these 4. So white has a pawn majority, 3 against the 2 on the king side, but the point is black has the opposite color bishop, so this shouldn't be a big problem if black finds the right move. So please stop the video and try to find a way how black should play this position for a draw. Thank you so much. Here, what black needs to do is active defense. That means that in this position, the best move for black is to play move rook to g8, with the idea of attacking the g pawn as soon as possible. So here the point is, yes, h pawn is hanging, but black idea is to get the g4 pawn back. For example, if white takes bishop h6, the black idea is very simply to take the g4 pawn, and after a couple of moves, the black king will be very, very active, and I think that still this position should be around equal. But let's go back. Instead to play the move rook g8, here black decided to go with the rook to h8, trying to defend the h pawn on this way. But what happened now? After the rook h8, the h pawn is defended. But this is a very passive square for the black rook. So white here just simply played the move h5, saying, yes, now the h pawn will stay here. And if black tries to go with the rook g8, white will simply play a move rook g1 to defend the g4 pawn with the rook. So black tried to activate the king, bishop to c1. Interesting moment now for white as well. White is regrouping the bishop, preparing some ideas with the king also to go forward. White played king to b5, king to g3, king to c4, king to h4. Now we can see the whole point of white idea with bishop to c1. First of all, white wants to defend the b pawn from some ideas like a king to b3, and in the meantime, white also wants to push a g pawn. After takes, bishop will usually take this pawn, and the king will be just in the beautiful place defending the h5 pawn. So black played king to d3, trying to get aggressive with the king, but there is no real weakness in the white position, and white is on time to play a move g5. After the move g5, rook to g8. A little trick. The trick is if white takes h6 pawn, black will play rook to g4 check, and after, let's say, king to h3, this rook will be, black will be very dangerous because whenever the rook goes, there will be open check. So this h6 pawn is a poison pawn, and white decided first to develop the bishop. So bishop f4, one waiting move, a5, check. Idea is pretty nice. After the rook e3 check, white wants, of course, to first of all to give a check, and second of all to put the rook on g3. So suddenly the gh6 idea will be really possible. There will no be rook to g4 anymore on the board. So white play king c2, rook to g3, let's go. Nothing else here for black to do than to take the pawn hg, rook first, bishop to g5 first, rook to e8, and now rook to g2 check. There is just enough time for white to also to defend the b pawn. After the move king to d3, bishop to f6, we can see now that h pawn is a monster. I mean, like a white h pawn, and black can do a lot to stop him. So bishop f5, rook to f2, bishop e4, and now bishop to g7, opening the f file as well. After the rook e7 now as well, when you don't know what to do, let's always activate the king. So here white played the king to g5. After the rook d7, king is going more, king f6, b5, bishop h6. Again, there is always some annoying tricks like rook to d2. So here, king to c4, and now well played move. That's a move, rook to d2. This trade is like just a beautiful one, because when the black rook disappeared, then the f pawn will be easy target, and from here, black can't stop both pawns that will go forward. Very nice game by Swidler. I hope you enjoyed. Let's go for a quick recap as we usually do. Here, very complex moment. I like the move h4. White is saying, I don't want to trade anymore. Let's say I don't want to trade anything before I push h4 and before I put you to the test. So after the h4, black took bishop f4, and after bishop e4, bishop e6 again. I like the fact that Swidler, anytime when some of his pawns were attacked, Swidler played very actively, like attacked some other piece in the black position. So here, first of all, c3, attacking the knight, knight to f3, king first trade, rook to d8, rook to d8, king f3. Now there is this h6 pawn is a real weakness, and here I will say that black had one moment to let's say to equalize this position, and that's with the idea of rook to g8. So remember, when you're getting attacked on the pawn or on the piece, always before you take a look, let's say passive route, always try to find out, is there anything aggressive, is there anything concrete that you can do so you can improve that position. So after the move rook to h8, now beautiful move h5. White is saying now this h pawn will stay there, and if you attack my g pawn, white will play move rook to g1. Black tried here to activate the king, so king c6, and now bishop to c1, opening the place for the king from f4 or to g3 and h4. Nothing else here again for black to do except to play king to b5, king to g3, king to c4, and now king to h4. White plan is just simply to push this pawn forward. After the king to h4 again, it's pretty hard to say what in this position black should do. He tried to play king d3, but now g5, and after the, let's say, first rook to g8, of course, always be careful before you take the free pawn. g6 will obviously be a free pawn because of the rook to g4. So here, first white played the move bishop to f4. After the bishop f4, nothing else for black to do except to push a5, and now rook to e3 check. After the check, king c2, rook to g3. Now after the rook g3, gh6, it's become, let's say, starting to be a real problem for black. Black tried to take it, but now first bishop to g5, not rush with the rook trade, and after the rook e8, check, time is for black to defend the for white to defend the b pawn, king d3, bishop f6. And now after a couple of very nice moves with the rook, first the bishop g7 attacking the f pawn, and also rook e7, king to g5. Now after again couple of moves and b5, bishop h6. Now rook to d2 is the way forward to finish the game because the black rook on d7 will be lost. Here black played king to c4, but after the rook to d2, after this trade of the rooks, and when the rook disappears, the f7 pawn will be easy target, so black resigned. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this game, and I hope you enjoyed this chapter. As you can see here, even in the opposite color bishops and games, like the right moment for the right trade, you can actually win the game. And generally, I hope you enjoyed this chapter, and I hope you enjoyed this course in general. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.